And away we go.
You're listening to Live on Four Legs, the live Pearl Jam podcast experience, featuring
Mr. Stone Gossard. Fucking camera in the truck. Mr. Boom Gasper. You can call me Al, you can call me Ed, you just fucking call me, why don't you?
Hello everybody, welcome back once again for the 25th episode. Here we are, Live on Four Legs podcast, the live Pearl Jam podcast experience. It's Randy and it's Matt, and 25, sir. We've gotten this far. It's about 6 months.
Yeah, at 21 we were allowed to drink, and now we can rent a car.
It was only 4 weeks ago. It felt like just 4 weeks ago where we were saying it was only our 21st episode.
They grow up so fast, don't they, Randy?
I just love to watch it bloom and grow into a human being.
Our child.
So through 25 episodes, how what's like the biggest thing you've noticed, or like the biggest thing you've learned from doing this show? That you didn't expect, maybe, like, what, you know, because I think there are a lot of things that, like, going into it, and researching these shows, I'm just blown away by a bunch of different things.
I think the main thing that I was expecting to happen was to have my mind changed on songs, maybe that I've liked or haven't liked. I think it's gone both ways. I think I've become sick of some songs, and I think I've appreciated songs that I haven't in the past. But I was expecting that. As far as Unsuspected goes, I think this has made me even more critical than I already was.
It's tough not to be, though, because you're going through all these and you're doing one a week, and we're kind of, we're picking off some requests. Sometimes we're picking off of some, when guests come on, and we're also picking off of just sometimes off of a whim, just ideas or shows that I've listened to, in the last couple months and said, this is not a bad idea to cover. And then, and it's kind of tough after a while to sort of differentiate between shows, because you're getting a lot of the same basic concept of shows, even if songs aren't in the same spots. The concept of, Even Flow Alive and Daughter and Jeremy and Better Man and Evolution are all there, and every single time I see it, I'm just like, I feel horrible that I can't think of anything else to say on this. Yeah. But you can't after, it's just very difficult. And that's why I think a lot of the times when we are doing shows, I love, trying to get a new song in an episode. But, by the time episode 45 comes around, are we going to have every song covered? That's,
I'd like to be able to. I think that would be pretty cool.
But I just don't want to find a time where we're like, man, we've covered everything. We're freaking bored. That's what I don't want.
True.
I think that's why I really like doing the eras in bunches. We're doing Holmdel 2003 today. So we did a 2003 show like a few weeks ago, 4 or 5 weeks ago. So that we're staying kind of in the same place, but I think maybe that's something that we should do, and we should sort of stay in the same era instead of bounce around. So, next week we're going to be doing something from 95, which we haven't done since November, December. And it'll feel fresh to us. It'll feel more fresh than it did back then, because we did, I think, 3 or 4 shows in a row that were from that era. So I think we just got to find ways to keep things fresh and because there are songs even today that we're listening to that we'll hear, like Save You and Dissident, and I'm saying, oh man, you know what, we haven't covered this in a couple weeks. So it's starting to come back around, but there are always going to be those songs that are very commonplace and sad. I think we said this about State of Love and Trust, where it's like every 2 or 3 shows we're covering it, and you still, although you love the song, you have nothing critical to say about it, but also nothing overly gushing to say about it, because it's very much, the song is the song and it's going to stay what it is. But for something like that, you just kind of run out of things that I'm trying to figure out a way not to run out of things to say.
I think what really helps too is having great guests on. The
100%.
The experience firsthand is what gives us some good topics and stories about the shows that they were at, pre and post show. How they got there, how they got the tickets, who they met. Those are all fun to do. So that's why we like to do those more often than not.
Yeah, every guest show I come out of it saying, "Wow, that was another awesome guest show." That everybody's raising the bar for every guest. So, when Bradley came on, Bradley set the bar at a certain level, and then the next week Aurelian came on, he set the bar, and then Patrick set the bar, and then Steve set the bar. So everybody is topping one another just because, and it's not like one is necessarily a better show than another, but we're just learning more stuff by talking to them. So it's just the appetite to learn. I think that's something that hasn't gone away so far. My appetite to learn this stuff is at an all-time high, because even with this show that we'll get into in a minute or two, there was something big about this show that I had no idea that even happened before even doing the research for it.
Well, that's fun. Can't wait to get to that.
Yeah, so it's cool stuff, because once you get the fans involved, even people that were there during that time period, they'll bring stuff up. We always go back to Grand Rapids and how that one just blew our minds. The fans changing the 10 club seats, so the fans that usually don't get in the front rows get in the front rows. Like, that's a story that you can't get from just listening to a bootleg. You get from people writing in and giving you a little firsthand experience. So, that we've had a lot of really great help with that, even if people aren't necessarily giving us these substantial stories that are, like with chapter 1, my ride to the arena. Like, okay, we understand if you're not going to give us that, but as long as there's some background on it.
Yeah, even if you tell us
some highlights.
A highlight. What song really stood out to you? Did they play your favorite song? Why is it your favorite song? And how did it sound that night? Stuff like that, because it's personal and it ties into what we're doing.
Try to repaint that picture, because we can't repaint the picture without your representation of repainting the picture. So a comment like "great show" probably doesn't help as much, if you get my drift.
You know what I think also happens now with doing this is, every week you get a new idea of what you think you might like. So you say, I really like this here, I really like this there. And then they do something at a live show and you're like, oh, I would like to see it that way. I have new ideas almost every week of how I would like to see a set play out. And then all of a sudden you have 100 different scenarios that you would kill to see at a live show, and you're probably not even going to get one of them. So it keeps you wanting more, and it keeps you wanting to go see them more in hopes that they're going to do this new thing that you listened to or imagined yourself, and it keeps it exciting that way going to the live shows. So this gets me excited to see them live again, because now it's like, what could happen. Are we going to see this thing that I really enjoyed in episode 14, or is this going to give us this really wild story for episode 56? That's
I think that I was so happy when you said on that one show that Smile, you wish that Smile would be a closer, and knowing that episode from last week was primed and ready to go in our future, I was so happy that an idea that was just sort of developed out of kind of just thinking about it more actually took place. So maybe those are some things that we have to just think about and then research and see if they actually have happened before.
Or
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, or hope that it happens when we actually can get to go and see them play, which would be like the ultimate level of achievement, I think.
Well, I think if there would be any proof that somebody affiliated with the band would be listening to the show and sort of generating some different ideas, maybe that would be the proof. But I don't know. I wouldn't get too far ahead of ourselves with that.
Yeah. Wishful thinking.
I will say, though, that I think this has changed the concert experience for me for damn sure.
Yeah. I hope not for the bad, though. I hope we're not going into shows saying, "Oh no, this is poor. This is not good." I don't want to be turned into a totally cynical asshole or anything like that.
I will say, every time I go to the first show on a tour, the first show, no matter if the show is the best show of the tour or, like night one was not a better show than night two. Night two for Fenway. But night one was way, way more emotional for me because it was, I think the waiting drove me mad. It's that long delay from the last time I saw them in 2016 to 2018, and all you're doing the whole entire summer is calculating scores for your fantasy teams, and you're just waiting to actually be in the stands to see everything that you're kind of calculating. So the anticipation factor always invokes the emotion, but then it's, I'll kind of go back to 2016. I went to 4 shows that year, two stadium shows and 2 arena shows, and even though that first MSG show wasn't one of my favorite shows of all time, that one brought out a ton of emotion for me from the beginning, and through like the first 6 or 7 songs I couldn't help myself because I was so excited that it didn't really matter what they played, and it sort of becomes this thing where afterwards you can sort of put it in perspective a little better.
Right.
So I'm hoping that I can keep some of that. The emotion part is very important.
Definitely.
So, they need something more than Innings Fest. Eddie's going to be doing Innings Fest solo. If you're listening to this on Friday, he's going to be doing it solo Saturday. I believe he's headlining it. So
yeah, is that is Incubus doing the next night or the first night?
Incubus is doing
He's doing Friday.
Yeah, or okay. I don't know if it's Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
Right.
I have no idea. One of those dates, I'm seeing Mumford & Sons this weekend. So.
Oh, you know what? I was going to ask you if that had passed already. I feel like we were talking about that such a long time ago. I wasn't sure if that had come up yet.
Yeah, that's on Saturday. So I'll hopefully be getting in touch with Patrick and meeting up and doing a little live on Four Legs meetup.
Yeah, do a little live stream there.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, no, I've talked to Patrick about it. I think we'll definitely get together at the show, and we'll either do a little video or we'll take a photo or something like that, and we'll post it to the page and be like, hey, look what I found found a Mumford & Son fan at a Pearl Jam show, or I don't know, fuck me. Anyway, Innings Fest. If you're going to Innings Fest, send us your story. Let us know how it was. Let us know how the set was and how the crowd was, and since it's relevant and it's all we have for right now, we want to take advantage of it and cover it for next week and sort of give sort of a synopsis, and we'll post the set list and we'll post some clips from it. But yeah, if you're going to Innings Fest, drop us a line this weekend at liveonfourlegspodcast@gmail.com and let us know what you thought of it.
We could treat it as kind of like a Eddie preset to our next show.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
My favorite. As long as he doesn't do Porch, it's fine.
He'll do Porch at this show.
Yeah, he'll definitely do Porch for sure.
So
he'll open with it.
More Live on Four Legs news for you guys, for all you Patreon subscribers. We are definitely putting out an episode this week. We don't know. We don't have an official date. I would say probably keep your eyes and ears open for early next week, Monday through Wednesday, I would say, one of those days. But if you haven't joined in on our Patreon yet, we're going to have more exclusive episodes. This one coming up next week is going to be VH1 Storytellers, so if that's something that you're interested in listening to, hop onto our Patreon account, just search Live on Four Legs on Patreon, become one of our patron donors, and you'll get that, as well as we'll find a chance to send you a shirt. We will send you a bootleg of one of the shows that we've covered in the past, and most of all, you get a chance to come on the show and talk about one of your favorite shows that you've ever attended. And I think that's the best part about it, because that's where we benefit from it.
And everyone that does it seems to have a great time with us, because we are good time boys, and and we have a fun time with everyone that comes on, and we love having them back. Can't beat it, right? I like it. I like talking to other people and getting their stories.
I think it's my favorite part about this whole entire shebang here.
It just shows that people are paying attention and that they're engaged and they want to come on and talk to us about their experience, and that is what we're all about, and that's what we want.
It shows the dedication with the fans for sure. And,
yeah. There's usually no lack of that, but this definitely takes it to another level.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm very excited to get new people on, and to have old friends on as well. We're gonna, I think, the next couple of weeks, we're definitely gonna have a mix of everything. So
Yep.
very excited. Anyway, reiterate, hop on to Patreon if you want to donate it. I think the minimum is $5 a month. But we're going to have so much content on it that it's going to be worth whatever you pay. And honestly, that's all we're looking for. We're just looking for a little bit. So once the tours come around and we're able to go and follow the band, it'll give us some funds to put together some events, hopefully, and get some meetups going. So that's really what we're hoping to do, and every little bit counts. And like we said, I think you can't find a better deal with this. We're giving you so much back just for you giving us just a little. So
yeah,
that's about it. All right, let's hop into Holmdel now. So this is the last show of the 2003 U.S. tour leg, and you know what? What I didn't know going into this was this show was never supposed to happen. Did you know that?
I did not know that. It's interesting.
It was never supposed to happen, so this was...
Was it a reschedule?
It wasn't a reschedule. So what this was, from the way that I was able to gather, so people that either couldn't get into MSG, both MSG shows, they put this show together. So because they had lawn seats on this one, so lawn seats you can sell however many, and you can keep going, you can keep selling, and the capacity to get people in those places, they're very high. So what I think happened was people got the option to either swap out their MSG tickets, or if they didn't get MSG tickets through the 10 Club, they were able to get first pick at getting Holmdel. So
okay.
Cool little gesture by them, and I think this is a good time in the band's history where they are giving as much back as they're getting from the fans. So it's very it's cool to see it. So you've seen the poster for this show?
Yeah, I have.
So that poster, you know how it's like white background and there's just a bunch of like random images?
Yeah, it's like a collage almost, right?
Yeah.
It says,
so
what
I
does
think
it say? It says goodbye or something on it. I guess because it was
Yep.
the end of the U.S.
Yep.
leg.
And it says thank you, Buzz
Thank you.
Cox, Sleater-Kinney,
Right.
and Ben Harper, or did somebody else open? I can't remember. But it's a collage of all the different posters from that tour.
Yeah, this one was pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's graphics from all different shows from the tour. That's why there was no real something that was more official, with art of its own, because it was kind of a last second.
Yeah, it's
ordeal.
cool. It's cool how it's all red and blue and yellow and yeah, it's like they cut out the main image of each poster and put it onto a big poster. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I'm sure. And you know what? That's not one that I usually see people post. So I wonder
Yeah,
if it's rarer.
researching the show, going into it, it was the first time I had ever seen it. I had never seen this one.
Yeah, you know, I have the Ames Brothers book, and it was one of those things. I got it for a birthday like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. It's a bookshelf or a coffee table book where you look through it the first time, you're like, oh man, this stuff is so cool. Then you put it on the shelf and you don't look at it again for a long time. And I decided, I'm like, you know what? I really just kind of want to skim through and just see kind of the history. It only goes back to about like 2006 or so, but there's a lot of really cool, awesome stuff in there. If you don't have the book, I'm sure you can get it for a decent price nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So this show, PNC Bank Art Center, Holmdel, New Jersey. The sound check was pretty interesting. If you're listening to the soundtrack and you're in the parking lot and you're hearing what's going on, outdoor venue here, they sound check with Hunger Strike. They sound check with Wash. All those yesterdays, People Have the Power, and Ed Solo on Black, Red, Yellow. That's a pretty mean sound check right there.
It's eclectic for sure.
But like when you think about it, all those songs are not very common. Especially People Have the Power is not a very common cover.
No.
And Hunger Strike at the time, we'll get into that a little more later, but they really didn't do it a lot at the time back then. They still don't really do it now. Wash had a 100-show delay. All those yesterdays wasn't even played at the show. Neither was Black, Red, Yellow. So like just listening to that alone could get you really hyped up for this show.
Yeah, it's a good sound check to get because they do 2 out of the songs of the ones that they sound checked. Yeah, you get some really interesting choices in there for a sound check, and it's interesting.
You sound unconvinced.
No, I'm convinced. It's like I said, it's a real mixed bag of songs for a sound check.
A little bit, yeah. But it's good to practice.
Yeah.
I'm talking about practice, right?
Yeah.
That was a thing back then. So we start off with the preset. There is a preset on this one, and this is a pretty popular preset song because it was on the Live at the Garden DVD. So if you go to the bonus features on disc 2, the Live at the Garden DVD, you're able to find a couple of just random performances and Ed Solo stuff. So this version of Dead Man that comes before the show, and I remember watching this because at the time when I was checking out the last time I watched the Garden DVD, I'd never seen a version of or heard a version of Dead Man live, so I wanted to specifically watch it. And Ed is wearing some Dick Tracy-esque hat and jacket, and I'm like, oh boy.
Sherlock Holmes or something, right?
Yeah, it was very 1940s-ish, but
Copper, see?
exactly.
Tree.
But So that's how they kind of start it. He starts off in a preset with Dead Man. Then I'm pretty sure it went from that into Sleater-Kinney, and then goes into the big show. So, not sure if all of you know this, but this show is famous for the first set being chronologically ordered by album. So they're going to open up with Wash, and then they're going to do 2 from 10. They're going to do 2 from Verses. They're going to do 2 from Vitalogy, add in a little Merkin-Ball, No Code, Yield, Binaural, Riot Act, and that's basically your first set right there. So it's a pretty cool little experiment that they put together. It's kind of like doing a full album show, but a little change up there.
I think it's a fantastic experiment, especially for a last minute for the fan type show to close it out in America. I think it's a really cool idea. But we're gonna have to talk about if it's done well, I guess, is the point of the show. So we'll have to get into that.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult because when you think about it, you pigeonhole yourself to certain aspects of songs. So, when you have 10 in the beginning, and obviously we're going to get into this way more, you need songs that are very strong openers. But when you have No Code in the middle, you need songs that are more cool down-ish or build back up kind of songs. And then when you get to an album like Binaural, where you're at the point where you kind of want to get the crowd more invigorated, Binaural doesn't have a whole hell of a lot of those songs that belong in that spot. So it's interesting. It's definitely a challenge. And we'll kind of talk about whether they met the challenge or they failed to meet the challenge, and we'll kind of get into all of that. So, the show kicks off, like we mentioned, with a song they soundchecked with 104 shows. It was absent for, and what a lot of people seem to remember is that Ed came on stage with a little pizza box or game board box, whatever kind of box it was, that had the lyrics to this on there. And somebody that commented on one of our notes on one of the pages said that their friend actually retrieved the box and has it framed in his house.
Cool.
So, yeah, and that was the person that said game board box, even though everybody else seems to say pizza board. So,
well, I'd assume the guy that has it would probably be the one that I'd listen to.
He technically doesn't have it. He was with a friend that does have it. See, that's...
Yeah, but if he has seen it, then I would take his word.
Right. I wish there was video evidence on this, but there's not.
Or some kind of old piece of cheese stuck to it or something. That would give it away right away. I mean,
imagine
the evidence.
Imagine if you kept that on there. Man. So yeah, this opens up with Wash, and since this was a rare occurrence at the time, we're going to give it its due, and we're going to give it a little play here.
Oh, please let it rain today. This city's so filthy, like my mind in waves. Oh, was the time like a clean new taste? Smiling eyes before me, inches from my face.
I think the pizza box or game box worked there because it seemed like he nailed all the lyrics even without playing the song for a couple of years. This is good performance of the song, and I think a lot of people really look to Wash whenever they do open with Wash. It's a good sign of things to come because you're automatically saying, whoa, this is something either I haven't heard this before or it's so rare that I hear this that it's crazy. It's kind of a crazy way to start instead of an open with Release or a Long Road, which is a little more common. I feel like Wash has more of a special place to people when it gets opened with.
Yeah, and Wash is a good example of a song that can be used as a slow open, but it can be very engaging at the same time. This one wasn't, but I could give it a pass because it had such a long layoff. And for having such a long layoff, that's why I can give it a pass because it was still performed very well. But it sounded like they were purposely holding back, and I was left wanting more from the performance, and maybe they just didn't want to let it get away from them because it hadn't been played since Soundcheck, but before that, 100 and whatever shows it was. So I understand, but I think we've heard more
passionate,
energetic versions of the song.
I'll definitely agree with you on that. I think the high part of the song is definitely where at the end where he kind of crescendos and he gets a lot more emotional. And here, it's a little bit of a running trend. Ed's voice was a little soft. It's not like it was bad in my eyes.
I'm going to be getting into that.
You're going to be more critical about it than I was because he's at least hitting his notes. It's just soft. It lacks a little kinetic energy. He just needs to move a little bit. But it's not poor. He's not missing his notes or anything like that. It's just a little dull. I thought the band sounded really good, especially there's certain songs the band sounds fantastic on. There are certain songs that Ed picks it up for too, but this was definitely, and I wonder because man, you have to think that this was just such a long tour with so many just impactful shows. The Mansfield, this is a couple days after Mansfield. It's a couple days after MSG. Camden were big shows. I think way before this was State College, so that probably doesn't factor into this as much. But, there's a lot going on. So this could be this is the tail end, and they're just trying to get by and get into Mexico, which is the next tour.
Well, that would be fair to say if this was a scheduled show and they have fatigue. If they were fatigued, they didn't have to do it.
No, but I don't think it was something that they planned that week. I think it was more like a couple months ahead of time, as far as I can tell. I'm really not sure. It wasn't like they played the MSG shows and said, "Hey guys, we got a free date. Let's do Jersey."
I think they know what they could do and they know their limits at this point, though. So I could agree to having tour fatigue to a point, but I don't want to use that as an excuse all the time because
it's not a great excuse.
It is their job and it is what they do, and they should know their limits by now. But like you said, it's not like they're completely off. We'll get to it.
All right, so it's cool. You kind of get a B-side off of 10 there with Wash, and then you go into the 10 tracks, and it's Once an Even Flow, and we're kind of a little bit, just kind of put them together just because it's a little section. But we'll separate the songs. We just want to mention them, that the 10 section is Once an Even Flow, and then we'll kind of talk about each individual song. So Once really kicks it off, and when I'm thinking about it, there aren't a lot of great opener show songs off of 10. Once is one, Why Go is another, Even Flow, if you're coming off of the album in 92, Even Flow would be one, but you can't have a second song of a show be black, even though we've seen pretty close to that. You can't have a second song in a show be porch or garden. So they were kind of limited with what they can do here off of 10.
Yeah, and of course, I'm sure they were saying we got to get Even Flow in here regardless. So, I mean, I wouldn't change this. I'm okay that it goes in order of the album as well, which flows well, because obviously that was they had that point in mind when they put together the track listing on the album. I just thought that this once was like Wash. I thought they were still holding back. It felt quiet.
I've written that it started off a little timid, but once the bridge kicked in, it ended pretty powerfully. And maybe a little less with Eddie and a little more with Mike and the rest of the band. I think that Mike and Stone really put a jolt into the band at points in this show. But yeah, I don't know if Ed's trying to just get past the show and get into Mexico, but it's not as heavy. It's not as once would usually have a lot of passion to it towards the end and have a lot of singing that becomes screaming, but it just kind of sounded. It was just kind of there. It was kind of even.
Well, that's what I wrote about Even Flow. I love it in the number 3 spot. I thought this sounded really good, and it's a bit of a surprise because I guess you don't know what they're going for yet. So this would come off as a shock, as would the whole rest of the show, and then you understand what they're doing. But it's still surprising, and the band sounds really great on this too. But I wrote, Eddie is again just kind of there.
Yeah, the band. I thought the band was really tight.
The band is 100% outperforming him on Even Flow.
Yeah, and look, I think there are sections of this song that I think this is one of the better Even Flow solos that I've ever heard. And I actually, once we're kind of through talking about it, I do want to play a little bit of it.
It was good. It was really good.
It was really good. It goes on for a long time. But I think if you're there and you're thinking like Even Flow number 3, you're kind of like, okay, maybe something a little different's happening tonight. But for us, we've covered Even Flow in a lot of different spots lately, so it doesn't seem that crazy anymore. And once you're covering throughout all different eras, they've done so much with this song that, it kind of says for nowadays, like, okay, maybe you can go back to doing Even Flow 3 or 4 and have it work instead of just keeping it, very stagnant at the number 10 spot.
There are absolutely moments where it will work, yeah.
So I also wonder if people were thinking at this time that once an Even Flow means that they would do the whole 10 album. I don't think maybe it wouldn't have kicked in. If Alive would have been the next song, it would have kicked in and they would have been like, oh, I see what they're doing. But yeah, maybe not the first two. A lot of people that I talked to said that they had no idea that it even happened until they read stories about it after the show.
Yeah, it's
sneaky.
It's sneaky. I feel like it could be tough to keep track while you're there and you're just trying to enjoy the show because there are going to be points of the set that you remember, like you would remember Even Flow being so early, but then you're saying to yourself, oh, what was number 4 and 6 and whatever it is. I can understand maybe losing track as you're there.
Yeah, it's not a normal thing. They never announced it during the show. They never said, hey guys, didn't know if you knew, but this is our Vitalogy segment. They never did. No,
they never would either. I don't think they would ever do that.
No, they're too clever.
They're too clever. It's exactly what I was going to say.
Since this is one of the better Even Flows that I've heard in a while, at least bridge-wise and solo-wise, I do want to hear some of it. So let's get into it and just real passionate stuff from Mike here. So going back to what would you change? You wouldn't change these two songs at all.
No, I'm good with this.
Okay.
I like this.
I'm good with it too. The only thing that maybe I'd consider doing is maybe instead of Once, I would have gone with Why Go, just because Once was a little timid. And Why Go, it's very tough to get a timid Why Go, but also think about 2003, they were not doing Why Go very often, so that would come off as a nice little surprise to people, but the band might not also be at high capacity with it. So
yeah, I feel like Why Go being that early would be a little awkward for me. I think it's in the same realm though as Once. You could get the same effect from each song. It's just a personal thing with lyrics and that all that stuff. It just fits later on for me, but you could accomplish the same thing with Why Go for sure.
Yeah, Why Go is not uncommon to hear in the first 2 or 3 songs. So instead of Why Go, instead of asking the question, you are actually doing the action in the next song to start the verses section. Ha ha ha. So this kicks off with it goes from Go to Dissident, and I didn't realize how much I would love Even Flow into Go transition. I thought it was magnificent. And I would love to hear them do it when Even Flow is mid-set and then go from Even Flow to Go. How crazy would that be? Because you would think after Even Flow there would have to be a little bit of a come down a little bit, an Immortality, Given Fly, something like that. But to keep the party going with Go after Even Flow and mid-set, I would love that.
Yes. Here, though, I thought this was a really awkward spot for Go, but I don't want to complain because at the end of it all, you want it in the set regardless of how it's flowing. You just want to get it in there. So I thought it was a little awkward, but if this was now and Even Flow is where they typically put it, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Dissident, though, I mean, I love the song, but if I had to pick for like a set, I would replace it. Again, this is if it's in a different spot with maybe Blood or Rearview Mirror, but you can't do those songs in this spot. They would stick out like a sore thumb more than Go does to me in this spot. And then you're kind of totally out of whack 2 songs in a row.
Well, it's not uncommon to hear Dissident in the 5 spot. I just think that
I'm talking about what would I replace Dissident with if I'm picking another song off of the album.
I had a difficult time thinking about it too.
The only things I could really think of that I would rather hear over Dissident would be Blood and Rearview Mirror. But my point is, you can't.
It's too early.
You can't do those songs in this spot. So they went the right way with Go and Dissident. So I would definitely leave it how it is this way.
You don't think that doing Go into Animal would be too redundant? Doing the first 2 albums, first 2 tracks.
It doesn't have anything to do with where they're placed on the album with me for that. I think Animal is a little bit too similar to Go to Once, Even Flow, even a little bit. You need a break up there. Dissident is a good way to break up that tone of the opener here. So,
would you have done Even Flow and Animal?
No, I wouldn't have.
Okay.
I wouldn't have, because I want to keep going there and then Go after Animal. You're still not getting a breakup, because I would take Go over Dissident. If you wanted to do Animal Dissident, if that's what we got, that would be okay. Dissident has to be there, but then I would.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I would say Even Flow into Animal, and then
Dissident.
and then do Dissident.
Yeah, that would be better. But I would still say. Then I would say I want to change this to Go instead of Animal. So yeah, I like this how it is.
The one thing I will say with the performance of Go, it's not the best version. It's a little sloppy.
It is super draggy.
Yeah.
And I think it was Matt.
You think so?
Yeah.
I comment a lot on how I like Ed to be crisp on a lot of songs, but Go is one I really like him to be raspy on. I really like him to have a little bit of an edge.
Yeah.
He didn't have it on this one.
No, and I don't like it when it's rushed and a big, huge mess, because even Mike will sometimes sound like shit if they're rushing Go. But at the same time, this is missing some kind of live presence because it's dragging a little bit, and it sounds like Eddie's like warming up. This sounds like sound check to me. It's
yeah. I can see that vibe. I wonder how stoned he got before the show, because honestly,
and then he ate the full pizza, and then he wrote lyrics. So he's stoned, and he's full and tired.
Or while he was stoned, he was playing Monopoly, and he was like,
oh,
shit, I gotta write my lyrics down.
I gotta write out the lyrics, and I don't have 6 more hours to finish this game. And then he looks around and realizes he's so stoned that he didn't even realize he was playing Monopoly all by himself.
What Monopoly piece do you think Ed would be? Would he be the Scottish Terrier?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that would be a funny little experiment. We take all the Monopoly pieces and we try to guess which band member would take what.
Ed would be the shoe, because the shoe is one of the shoes from when he asked the crowd for all the shoes. So maybe that he would be the shoe.
I'll take that.
Stone would be the thimble, because I can see him wearing a thimble on his head.
On his head, it looks like some of his hats. Yeah.
Matt would be the race car.
Yeah, because he
freaking Lamborghini.
Running out of gas a little bit though on go here.
Mike would probably be the top hat, because he sometimes wears a top hat. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
And that is the extent of all the pieces that I know. I can't remember any others.
I can't remember any other. Sorry, Jeff. I can't remember.
So maybe Boom would be the terrier. That makes sense, because he's kind of shaggy. And Jeff could be the...
Yeah, the hurdy-durd.
Okay. Lest we forgot to mention that in between the two songs from Versus, Ed toasts the crowd, mentions that this is the last show on the U.S. tour and the only place in America where a UFO landed and decided to stay. I don't know what that's a reference to.
Me either.
And it didn't sound like the crowd did either, so I don't know. As for Dissident, I think Mike sounded really good in the beginning. I think it sounded like a little different, a little catchier. And I think a lot of people that were at the MSG shows were, I guess, a little disappointed that they got a couple of the same songs that they did at MSG, like Dissident. And In My Tree, I believe, was another one. I guess people just thought, it was kind of disappointing to hear repeats, but honestly, that's not really our concern right now.
No.
Ed's voice isn't full strength at Dissident, and Dissident is one of those where you can obviously tell whether he's got it or he doesn't. And
yeah, you know what? I actually, this one I didn't mind it. He's still a little soft on it, but I thought it was a great spot. It sweeps in and breaks up some of that awkward tension that we were talking about with these song pairings, and it's placed. It's the placement's perfect for this song. But I thought the band sounded good, and I think I was listening more to the band on the song than I was to Eddie on this one, so I don't really have a comment for that, but I did like this performance and the spot. And also, I just thought maybe Jeff could be the wheelbarrow, because everyone knows the bass player carries the band.
In what band?
Okay, then he could be the iron, because his bass playing is just so smooth.
Did you just Google the rest of the pieces?
No.
My one last little thought on Dissident is that it's just Ed, sometimes at the end of the song, he does the escape is never the safest plan.
Yeah.
But this one, he totally gave up at the end. He didn't even give us a Dissident is here. He was just like, We're on to Vitalogy now, and it's going to be Corduroy and Nothing Man, which is pretty basic for this spot. You got one song that's a perennial early set kind of song, and then you have a cool down going into it. So it does make a lot of sense, but there are a lot of rockers on Vitalogy, and it could have been a good time to put one of those rockers in. Like, I don't know if a Spin the Black Circle would have been good after Dissonant. I don't know if Last Exit would have been good after Dissonant, but man, it feels like they weren't at least from Nothing Man perspective and what we'll get into after Nothing Man, maybe not the best choice.
Yeah. Spin the Black probably would have been cool. Last Exit, I think, would have been a good choice as well. I actually think this is a great combo because I think it works the best in this part of the set. Would I choose Corduroy right off the bat if I had to choose any song out? If I had to choose 2 songs out of the whole album and I could only pick the 2 songs for this part of the set, would I pick Corduroy? I might not, because I've heard it a bunch of times. Maybe I would go with something a little bit more exciting or a little bit more...
How about a Tremor Christ after Dissonant?
Exactly, like that would be a little bit more interesting, I think. I think this was played a little safe.
That's a really good way to define it. That's I think you stole the words.
Yeah, I mean, I really do think it is a great combo, Corduroy and Nothing Man. But is Corduroy the best song to come out of Dissident? Maybe, but maybe not. I wasn't really feeling 100% on that transition. But at the same time, Nothing Man works really well after Corduroy. So I have to make that compromise there. And that's why I think it's better as a combo instead of thinking it as, did Corduroy work well out of Dissonant? So a lot of the times during this, I'm not going to be going too far backwards. Like now I could say, is Corduroy Nothing Man the best to do now when when Even Flow was like the however number song? I'm not going to be going that far back and seeing how it works as a full set. I'm only going to be going to what's like right before it and right after it, or we're going to go down like major wormholes here and we're never going to finish the episode because we could dissect this forever.
Yeah.
Another problem though, we're in Corduroy here and I am 100% convinced that Eddie is actually asleep. and at this point, it felt like the band wasn't far behind him. There's no urgency here, and
I thought the band was super tight.
They're tight.
I thought Ed's quality of voice seemed like he was making proper adjustments to make the song sound good to what he was what his limits were that night.
I felt like even though the band was tight, I felt like there was this like velvet wash over them and everything was smoothed out and I wasn't getting this live vibe. And it's funny because then the band will break out of it and then they'll go back into this nap time again. It's so weird. And I wish I could have seen a video of this because I have no visual to compare it to. And I'm just getting this like standing around vibe from some of these songs.
It's funny because...
Which worked well for Nothing Man because Nothing Man sounded pretty beautiful.
That's exactly what I was going to say. The way that Ed's voice was constructed that night, he was meant to sing Nothing Man at the show. So I get that choice.
Yes.
But, I thought the band sounded really good. I thought that Ed was average on at least Corduroy, and I think he was really good on Nothing Man because I don't think that he had much expectations for it. There's only one part where he goes really high, and honestly, I don't think those are really that hard of notes to hit for him. They at least don't seem like it, because out of all of the high songs that we as fans get to sing, I don't really get a strain from Nothing Man. Do you agree? Disagree?
That's I think that's in most normal people's register, I would say, when you're singing along in a show. Yeah.
I just think that, I don't know, I guess it was just the choices. You kind of get into the zone of being kind of sucked into doing it a certain way and fitting a certain regimen, especially when you pick the songs above and below. After Nothing Man, they obviously have to go, there's only one option to do if they're going to do a Merkin Ball song. So, I just feel like it lacked a little bit of some unpredictability, even though the whole thing is unpredictable.
That's fair.
They could have, a Tremor Christ into Nothing Man would have been okay, or...
Yes.
Even, I don't know, I don't know. They could have done bugs. Who knows? Like corduroy and immortality would have been cool too. I think immortality would have been another one that would have sounded good on Ed's voice, but it just I don't know. It was basic, as I suppose. So, in between songs, in between Nothing Man and I Got Shit, something is going on in between, and this is where I really wish that we had some video because you just don't know what's going on in the boot. But Stone says it's like he's holding something up, and he says it's for kids. Did you notice that?
I need a video. I'm like,
right? Is he holding a condom or something?
What's going on? We need people. What's going on, guys?
I can see it being like somebody in the crowd because back in I remember all the shows that I used to go to in 2003. At least the Irving Plaza shows, there would be a table and it would be full of condoms, and people would be so
all the time.
And yep, they would be all like, "Hey, just give out free condoms for protective sex."
Exactly, especially in New York City. You know, that area was so hot with these organizations going around with tables to these venues, and it was free giveaways. You know, Planned Parenthood, all that stuff, and yeah, I remember we would go to shows all the time, and they were guaranteed to be there at any show you went to.
Oh, and you know what I did every single time? I took the For Her Pleasure one, and if there was a girl at the table, I go, "For her pleasure," and they'd look at me and go, "Oh God."
Boy.
Yeah, I was a little shithead. And I probably never used it, so shame. Joke's on me.
We're letting things all out into the open today here, Randy.
Yeah, a little bit, but you know what? It's all right. It's Wednesday. So.
Episode 25. Welcome to the mind of Randy.
When are you going to share? When are you going to share your condom stories?
You know, I don't think I'm comfortable until at least episode 30.
All right. We got 5 episodes. We'll hold you to that. Okay. We'll even do an intro about it. We'll talk about it. But I guess what I'm seeing here is that when you went to those shows and they gave out the free condoms, what are you going to do with them? Obviously, you're not going to use them at the show unless you're a freaking pig. So people open them up, they blow them up like balloons, and they fucking swat them while the show's going on. So if I were to guess, somebody swatted a condom balloon at Stone, and Stone picked it up, and he's like, it's a kid's balloon. That's my guess.
Maybe someone drew a happy face on it. I'm pretty sure I did that at Roseland or something.
Had to.
Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I just thought of a good condom story.
You did?
I did.
I did. Are we waiting till episode 30?
No, I'll do it now.
Okay.
I'd gone to, I think it was either Nokia Theater, when it was Nokia. What is it now? Like Best Buy or something? Or PlayStation, might be PlayStation now. I think it was that one. I don't remember the show, but I went with a good friend of ours, Mr. Christopher Crawford. And we actually ran into some of my cousins there. It was my cousin and her 2 kids who were young at the time. Now they're adults and taller than me, and it's very strange.
What show was this?
I don't remember what show it was. I cannot remember who we went to go see. Could have been Five for Fighting because we're big dorks. Yes, I am a Five for Fighting fan.
Bunch of good Canadians.
You gotta love them. Yeah, got hockey. I ran into my cousin later on that night, and I'm like, "Oh, where are the kids?" And she's like, Dan's running around. He found the condom table and he's blowing them all up into balloons.
Oh, no.
I'm like, oh, yeah, we've all been there. There. So he was like maybe 10 years old at the time, and it was the funniest thing I could have ever heard. So
ignorance is bliss. Oh, the memories. All right, so continuing on, whether there was a condom balloon on stage or not, Ed says that a few years ago in Seattle, Neil Young came up to record some songs, and we're going to play one that's depressing, but I'm so happy right now. Then he says that there's a Clear Channel sign in front of him, so now he's depressed. I forgot what Clear Channel was, but I know it wasn't good. Do you remember what Clear Channel is?
Was that like like an NPR or something?
I think it was a conservative one, yeah.
Yeah, you might be right. Because I remember back in those days, post 9/11, you heard about Clear Channel all the time.
Yeah.
Right? If my memory's serving me correctly.
Public subsidiary of iHeartMedia, one of the world's largest outdoor advertising corporations.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that they probably have very conservative leanings, and that's why Ed didn't like them.
Possibly.
I don't want to read more into it because, we got a show to cover, but... all right, so I got shit, and it's the chronology staying intact. Merkin came out late 95 before No Code did. It sounds fine here, and it's a pretty typical spot for it, but it's not a version that really grabbed me by the throat. And for a song that used to be very, very, very high on my list of ones to hear and very excited to hear it, as far as covering it on a podcast, I've not heard a version of it yet that I've been really gung-ho about and excited about.
It's not Long Road, so good. I'm fine with it.
Wow.
No, I like this a lot. I thought it was a pretty straightforward performance, which at this point I feel like that's just what we're gonna get for most of them.
I've heard passionate versions of them though before, and live too.
Right. But I think this was straightforward, and I think that's kind of a running trend for me for this show. I thought Matt had a really nice tight groove on the chorus of this song, so I took that for what it was, and I'm gonna say I enjoy it.
Okay, that's fair. All right, No Code section here.
Oh god, I was dreading this part of the show.
Yeah, it's not my favorite either.
Dreading this part.
This should have
been my favorite part of the show.
I think it's the way everything was constructed from No Code to Yield. It was just...
Nope. It's not because of that.
Okay, why was it then?
It's because this In My Tree is the worst song I have ever heard.
So wait, is it because you don't like the way... Because this is the same way they do it on the Live at the Garden DVD.
Yeah, the Live at the Garden DVD, though, it sounded good.
Okay.
This sounded like absolute shit. They changed the rhythm of the bridge and the post-chorus. This was horrible. This is the worst performed song I've ever heard, and it's one of my favorite songs by them. And this should have been my favorite part of the show.
Well, I'm glad that you say it's not the way that the song was played and constructed, because I actually love that version. I think it's such a unique version that they do. I
don't like that way, but when you compare it to Live at the Garden, it's with the crowd and the way it does sound good. It's not the way I like it, but at least at the Garden, it sounds amazing. This is an absolute train wreck from the start, and I'm personally offended, and I'm getting a little amped up here, Randy.
Well, will a killer organ solo from Boom help you out? Because I thought that was a really, really good feature of the song.
I didn't think it fit. I didn't think it fit at all. I thought it was weird.
I liked it.
I thought it was weird. And you know what I was saying to myself? I was like, all right, this intro is a little shaky for me, but after last week, I will take this to wash that taste out of my mouth. And then the song kept going, and I'm like, give me Eddie singing off key over this any day of the week. This was so bad.
I don't think we're in the same boat. I didn't think it was so bad. I thought it was. I have good memories of watching the Garden DVD and listening to them play it this way. If you're not familiar,
but I feel like they change rhythms of stuff too in this. They go jammy, and it's funny. It sounds like they had been working on it, because around I think it was around like a minute 35-ish, Jeff goes to the completely wrong part. Like too early. Like I feel like they were all a little lost on what was going on.
Was it a condition critical?
Oh, big time.
Okay. We should flash it in post then.
All right, let me just find the button here. Condition critical button.
Condition critical.
Okay, so obviously you love that, and
let me just cool down for a minute. Take us into our next song. I just need to cool off for a second.
Okay. I was gonna originally play it, by the way.
Oh, I really don't want to.
All right. We won't.
Don't make me edit that, Randy, please.
will. Maybe maybe I'll do my own director cut on it. All right, so Ed takes the mic and said, here's another one off of the same record. This is really one of their only hints that they're doing the album Procedure. And he says, it's a favorite of mine, maybe because it shares the initials with Pete Townsend. And it's present tense. This is not my favorite present tense. And one of the reasons I think Ed realizes that he is asleep halfway through the song, and if you hear in the second verse before he's going, you can spend your time alone, he starts off doing it the soft part, and then he's like, oh no, hold on, this is where I go high with it, and then kind of changes midway and does the high part instead, which sounded fine, but it sounded like he was just going through the motions, kind of.
Yes. I wrote present tense. Eddie has now slipped into a coma.
Yeah, I think a lot of the problem was it just these, maybe even since Nothing Man, this section it just didn't move right. It needed some flair.
In my tree should have been Red Mosquito.
100%.
And then they should have done present tense after Red Mosquito.
Yeah, I was trying to think of what else could go in the middle of a set and really you're not going to do Lucan.
Yeah, for me, present tense is a happy to have in class, but since In My Tree was so bad, it I feel like it threw it off a little bit. So I think Red Mosquito would have played out a lot better.
Yeah, definitely Red Mosquito in the spot. As far as present tense, the only other song that I could think of going in the middle of the set would be Habit, and it's just not one of my favorites. So I guess I would keep present tense there and it'd be fine. But then you get into the Yield stuff and it's just kind of like, it drags.
Present tense after, I don't know, so close to Nothing Man, it's a little off, I think. I'm happy to have present tense, but there's something not working with this group.
There needed to be a bounce in their step, and it really doesn't come until a couple songs later.
Right.
That's why this section of 6 songs could have been way better than it was. So now we're on Yield.
I think I'm going to agree with you on most of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, Given to Fly is what it is now. I've stopped judging it for what I want it to be and sort of accepted it that it is what it is. And when it's played right, which sometimes I will say that sometimes it is played magnificently and it's tight, it's not always a tight song. This version was okay. This version I was fine with. I didn't have much of a problem with it. I didn't really mind that it was played here, but it made the whole thing overall, just as a choice, I think it was okay, because what else can you do? Maybe they could have done Low Light. I know they checked with all those yesterdays. All those yesterdays wouldn't have worked here.
It would have been nice to hear, though.
It would have been great to hear. Absolutely. Low Light would have been fine. But then you have a lot, I don't know, Faithful wouldn't have worked there, and Brain of Jay, obviously, no. And would you do the evolution here and just change it up entirely?
Yes. So I thought Given to Fly worked well out of present tense, but followed by Wish List, it's a mistake. It's, you have Nothing Man so close to present tense, and then Given to Fly, then Wish List. It's a yawn, there's nothing, because this Given to Fly is nothing to really write home about. It's fine, but it's
fine, yeah.
It's not nothing. It's not like the Given to Flies that we hear that transitions into another part of the set. It's not doing that here. And the obvious choice, of course, after Given to Fly, to give this some kind of life is do the evolution. And maybe Eddie would have woken up a little bit on that. He woke up a little bit for Given to Fly. I'll say that, but I think Do the Evolution would have fit better here, and we'll get to that as we go into the encores, because I have ideas that would have worked better in encores that got skipped because of what they're doing chronologically with albums. So
the whole show is really pigeonholed because the second encore is nothing but covers and planned covers because, you know, they're deciding with Sleater-Kinney. We'll get to that when we get to it. Wishlist, though. Some lyric changes in Wishlist. I thought it was tight. Again, I just didn't want it in the spot. I thought it was performed well.
It was very tight, and it fit the tone of the show so far, yeah. I had no problem. I had no problem with the performance of it. It's just this progression here. It's like up, down, and it's kind of... I mean, it's a little boring, to be honest.
This is... Okay, I was about to say, this is a good live song compared to the album song. You know how there's always songs where you're like, this is way better on the album, this is way better live?
Yes.
This is one of the Yield songs that... I think a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on it, but this is one of the Yield songs I think is way better live than on the album.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Some lyric changes in there. Might as well get to it. I wish I was as fortunate as all you in New Jersey. I think that's how it was. But the better one was later in the song. I wish I was a souvenir you made out of a piece of shit.
Whatever that means. I love talking about souvenirs and pieces of shit when they make all their money on souvenirs.
And none of their souvenirs, a lot of their souvenirs aren't pieces of shit at all.
They're very high end and they're very sought after.
Yeah. Although this is around the time they do this a lot. I think this is the last time they ever did this. A little Buzzcock tag here. Why can't I touch it?
Right.
Again, it was something that you got in the Live at the Garden DVD, which I'm sure people that went to both shows were like, this again. But we're going to do Live at the Garden in 3 or 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. So we'll get it soon, but we haven't played a song in a while. So why don't we play the tag just as a why not? I think we'll have a lot of stuff to play on that Live at the Garden DVD. So if we get this out of the way, then yeah, that covers our base. So let's hear it.
Tell me where are the WMDs? I wanna believe, I wanna believe. Try singing. All right, let's hear it. So can I touch it? So can I touch it? So can I touch it?
Yeah, a little bit of rambling there. The I want to believe and where are the WMD lines, but yeah. Maybe they should have tightened it up. Maybe it should have been a little shorter than it was. It kind of drags.
A little bit.
All right, so Ed after that one says, to all the smart guys and guys in power, let's get everyone home safe. That's all I wrote, even though I think it was a little more substantial than that. Yeah. But that's all I really wrote down. So, okay, let's go back to where you said they should do the evolution after Given a Fly, which I'm sold on.
Okay.
That gives you a better way to develop for your binaural section, because I think they really painted themselves into kind of a hole here where they had to pick themselves up after Wish List, because you played a bunch of softies in a row, or
Right.
maybe not soft softies, but definitely lower tempo songs. And what's going to get your crowd back into this that's off binaural that people are going to start jumping up and down for? But Breaker Fall is not good for this spot because
you are insane.
You think Breaker Fall would have worked here?
So
no.
Yes. Okay, keep going. I'll give you my rundown. I'll give you my rundown.
I don't think Breaker Fall would have worked here. I don't think God's Dice
no
would have been that good here, but there are not too many other binaural songs that have that real cranking upbeat to get the crowd back into it. So Evacuation is kind of by default the choice.
You know what's funny though isn't at the same time, isn't that what makes binaural such an amazing album, that it's so kind of confusing?
It's very confusing.
Like we talked about last week, and we have so much appreciation for that album now because of reasons like this.
But the one thing I've always said about binaural is that I can never remember the track listing. I can remember the track listing.
I can't either.
Front to back on everything but binaural and the End of Riot Act. I don't think they put the tracks together that well. With all the songs that they had on tap that, they could have done like Education and In the Moonlight and Sad and all these other ones that were recorded for the album. They had a chance to put together something really good. Something much better than they did.
It's not as bad as Avocado's track listing, but it's close. I'd say it comes in second in that category.
You think Avocado has a bad track listing, Mr. Avocado?
Oh yeah, no, I don't agree with the track listing at all.
Oh, we've talked about that because
yeah.
you think it should start with Worldwide Suicide.
Doesn't it? See what I did there?
I sure did. Sure did.
Yeah. So
just like In My Trees Before Who You Are.
Right. According to Jeff, it is. So first I'll say, because I mentioned this last week, how Evacuation was always just so like 2000 to me.
I
thought it sounded fantastic here. And kind of the only thing good about Wishlist in its spot is that Evacuation kicks ass after it. And I do have a new appreciation for Evacuation because we've heard it twice now back to back in shows, and each time it sounds great. So okay, say we wanted Do the Evolution instead of Wishlist, which is of course the obvious choice. They use it in a different spot, which we agree with, but in this show maybe disagree with a little bit. I'm going to go with that Do the Evolution was not an option, and Wishlist is where it is, which is how it went. Mm-hmm. I'm glad to have Insignificance, but the spot here is super awkward. It's sticking out like a sore thumb to me. So what I would have done is I would have done Breaker Fall Evacuation, because I feel like Breaker Fall after Wishlist would have served the same purpose as Corduroy does when we talk about Corduroy. It's kind of like a restart.
A restart. That's you had me thinking when you said last week that you thought the beginning of Breaker Fall was really weird for the encore, and I while I loved it in that spot, ending Encore 1 or Encore 2, whatever it was, I really, really loved it in that spot. You said it was better halfway through than it was in the beginning. And then it led me to think more of where they've used it before. And I think they played it at Wrigley this year, and it was kind of closer to the middle. I'm not sure. Okay. But I think a reset would have been really weird here.
Okay.
This is really deep for a reset.
Yeah, I think it just works as a reset as a song, and Corduroy did not do that in this set. It didn't serve that purpose because it didn't flow well into a second half. So if you have another song that you could use as a reset, it might be a little late for it, but I feel like Breaker Fall is that song, and I think you should use it. Again, this is This is our
Yeah.
opinion. But they might not even see these songs as a restart. Maybe we came up
Right.
with that. So
I think we might have.
you're welcome.
What I will say that is, if they did decide to do the evolution, was kind of a mute point. I would have liked Insignificance after Do the Evolution.
That would have yes. That yep.
And then
Agreed.
maybe Grievance or something afterwards. Binaural's definitely the toughest one to decide on.
Yeah.
And I will piggyback off what you were saying. This version of Evacuation was really good. It was much better than last week's version, which kind of sounded like maybe at times it dragged a little bit. This sounded like it had emphasis and power and passion. And although I think Insignificance was placed appropriately, I don't know. I think there was opportunity for something else.
I agree. I do like it.
I don't know what it is. That's the thing. I can't.
That's the beauty of binaural. You don't know what it is.
Like, nothing as it seems would have stunk. Light Years wouldn't have been great here. Rival would have been really weird. And that takes us half the album. Would you done Evacuation into God's Dice into Half Full? That's not horrible.
It's not horrible, but
Would you do Evacuation into Grievance?
yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Grievance live, as I said last week, but it would.
Because you don't have a soul.
I'm soulless. It would serve the same purpose though here. That would be fine.
Okay. Yeah, I've always said that Grievance and Insignificance really kind of fit the same way.
Right.
They can kind of be utilized the same way, except that Grievance intro with the drums can be transitioned in such, in such unique spots.
Right.
That after Evacuation, I think it could have worked. But overall, I think they did their best with it. They were in a weird spot, and they did their best with it. So finally, we're on the last album. It's Riot Act. And this is 3 songs to end the set, 2 Riot Act songs, and then a really good set ender. So Half Full here into Save You. I really like Half Full kind of near the end, because you hear it on the album and it's really close to the end of the album, and it kind of gives you this like kind of a good feeling before you're almost done kind of way, almost like you forget that the set's about to end. Does that make sense?
It does.
So I think that was a really good spot for it. I think the version sounds terrific. Band's tight on it. Save You is in one of my favorite spots that you could hear Save You. That doesn't really, it's usually closer to the opener, but I love it near the end because I think, again, it just brings out the energy and electricity near the end of the set that can translate into whatever your last 1 or 2 songs are. But I did not think this was a very good version of Save You.
No, I agree. So yeah, the Half Full Save You grouping here. Yeah, I think it works well at the end of a set, and I think it would work well at the beginning, which isn't a possibility here. But this group is kind of a chameleon grouping of songs, and that's pretty interesting. And I thought it worked pretty well after Insignificance. I was thinking again, like, what would work from Riot Act besides Half Full, because Save You is a safe choice, of course, and it's a good way to end or come close to the ending. But I'm sticking here with Half Full. I think that is the right choice. It makes it a little bit more interesting because you could go the total goon route and do something like I Am Mine, which would have been totally wrong here. But it's a single, so I'm glad they didn't do that. Don't go that way. And then what you could phone it in with like Crop Duster or Bush Leaguer, which also would have been totally wrong. It would have been.
I think Half Full and Save You were the right choices.
Right. I think
they were in the right position.
Yeah,
they were the right choices.
The one that would have worked as well as Half Full would have been Green Disease, I think. But
too late for Green Disease to me.
I could agree to that. I mean, I would have taken it, but I think Half Full is getting the job done here really well.
Yeah,
and
100%.
And I think it sounds really good. And then Eddie fell back asleep for Save You, I thought.
Yeah,
I wasn't feeling it.
the one thing I noticed with Save You, it sounded like usually in the first verse, they kick in with two guitars after that beginning, but there was only one guitar for like half of that first verse, and it felt...
Was that what it was? Because I thought something sounded a little empty, and
I think either Stone or Mike's guitar was...
maybe too low, or...
They were switching guitars or something. They had a guitar problem, and they switched midway through. It was dull, and I usually, every time I hear Save You, I'm rocking my head the whole entire time, but this one I'm just like, ooh, I couldn't get into it as much.
I agree. Yep.
It's unfortunate, but it was the right decision. What are the other options that are more up-tempo, upbeat songs? Because you're not going to do Love Boat Captain. You're not going to do I Am Mine. You're not going to do Thumbing My Way. Those are all... You Are is off the table.
Yep.
Help Help is off the table. The only other real, like, upbeat, quick songs, like Ghost and Get Right, at the end of a set would just be awful.
I considered Get Right, and I listened to it a few times. I listened
Get Right is not a good song.
No, I listened to it. I rewound it. I listened to it again. I rewound it again, and I'm like, it wasn't fitting. But I felt like it was maybe, if it wasn't Green Disease, maybe that. But it wasn't. I couldn't place it.
Yeah, and it's just all the basis for me is off tempo, because it's a little more upbeat. But I don't think I've heard a version of Get Right live yet. It's been played very few times, so I'm a little afraid to hear it because they haven't gone back to it since this tour. I think since before this show was probably the last time they ever played it, and I don't know if that's when they'll ever go back to. They'll go back to Ghost. Not common. It's not common, but if you know Dimitri from he's an admin on some of the boards,
of course,
that's his favorite song.
Interesting.
So sometimes they'll one of the shows last summer they dedicated it to him because he was in the audience.
Cool.
It might have been Krakow, but I'm not sure. So yeah, they played Ghost at that show. I don't mind Ghost as much as I do Get Right, but neither of them would have worked here. It would have been a total buzzkill. So yeah, they made the right decision with both of those. Now we're closing the first set with a really fucking amazing version of Porch.
Really?
Really? Yeah.
I wrote...
Why? What'd you...
I wrote, is this a live show or is this band practice? Because I think this is band practice.
You are definitely in the minority on this.
I don't know. I wasn't excited. I wasn't getting it.
Oh, God. I thought this was clicking. This was clicking on all cylinders.
They're clicking. They're playing fine. It's just...
No,
there's just... I need more. There's...
How can you need more? This was fucking brilliant. This sounded amazing.
Yes, it did.
I don't know what more you could have wanted.
It did sound amazing for a very straightforward performance of the song.
No, it wasn't. I disagree. It wasn't straightforward at all. I think that the bridge parts were more unique than usual Porch bridge parts. I think they were more
fine.
Energetic. And the crowd, you can tell that the band is feeding off the crowd energy, and the crowd is feeding off of Eddie climbing up a speaker. So he's doing usual Porch shenanigans here. But this is one of the better Porches I've heard in a very long time.
It was I'll give you fine. It was fine.
We're playing it though.
Oh, sure, we could play it. We weren't really playing much today, so let's play.
No, not yet. We got more later that we will. I had like maybe two songs. Originally what I wanted to do was play one from each album. Then I'm like, oh no, that's a 4-hour show.
What are you doing
there.
To me?
Yeah. So yeah, there's a little bit less, but I think we're saving it for some good stuff later.
That could be debatable too.
Well, and debate on we will. But yeah, let's play some of the bridge from Porch because it just maybe you'll catch second wind from it.
Maybe I just have to hear it again.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. pacing was just... I think Stone set the pacing, and I think Matt just killed it here. I think Matt was just on the mark, but I think Stone was really setting up the cans for Matt to knock down here. I thought everything really worked real flawlessly.
I guess it's if Eddie is taken out of the equation on this show, I guess it works a little better because I just feel like he's not putting enough into it.
And you know what? We didn't even talk about the intro.
Oh, what is it? Uno, dos, tres, cuatro?
We get a count in, but it's like the same pacing as the modern day, like down, but it doesn't have that intro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's at least acceptable that way.
Even Eddie's count in was boring on this.
Maybe you're just boring.
No.
Maybe you've been listening to too many shows. You need a break, sir. I'm benching you. I'm benching you, and
until we get the tracks for next week's show, and then I'm back in.
I'm bringing in every other Pearl Jam podcaster to replace you.
Oh boy,
which is essentially what's happening in the next couple of weeks.
It's going to be like a greatest hits month coming up here.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be great. Oh yeah, it's going to be great.
We'll talk about it later.
Yep.
All right, encore time. Man, I have a whole paragraph of Ed just talking here. Oh, boy. Ed said they had a great tour, a great time. Wants to thank everybody for making it happen. Then he thanks the crew for making it happen. Says the crew does one of the best jobs putting on a show. He usually doesn't thank his own guys, so that's a nice little touch. He says everyone needs a little attention. Before he left the U.S., since it's their last night, he wants to clarify whatever he says, that they have an opinion. It comes from a position of caring for their country and what makes you a patriot. Just not the country, but the people in it. When you care about that, it makes you a patriot. It's not about victory or corporations, not about money. We just hope you're proud of us when we leave here. We hope we have your support, and we hope you're proud of us for taking a stand.
Should have timed you.
You know what that was? That's like, you know, at the end of the like radio commercial sometimes where they want to get in like
all the legal
guarantee.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to go for there.
Great. You pulled it off.
Because really, it's nothing he hasn't said before.
Right.
But we got to cover it. It's in the show. So
if it's there, we gotta put it here.
Exactly. So then we get growing up, and Ed says he's never tried it before. You may be seeing this guy in the next few days, but if you do, tell him Eddie says hi. He was going to play here, but there wasn't 160 nights in a row for him to play. And then Ed says he used to play the song while sitting on his bed. And it is a classic, legendary Bruce Springsteen song, and let's hear it.
Well, I stood stone like a midnight, suspended in my masquerade. I pulled my hair till it was just right, and commanded the night brigade. I was open to pain and crossed by the rain, and I walked with a crooked cross. I strolled all alone through the twilight zone, came out with my soul on the toss. I stood in the crowd and wrestled alive, but when they said put out, I stood up. Growing up, the flag of piracy flew from my mast. My sails were set wing to wing. I had a jukebox graduate for a first mate. She couldn't sail, but she sure could sing. And I pushed B-52 and bombed her with the blues. And my gear set started on standing. I strolled all alone through the fallout zone. Never once gave thought to landing. I stood in the crowd and wrestled alive when they said put down and put up.
So we've actually kind of covered the only other time that they played it. It was during a preset of Ed's, Reading of '04. He did that in a preset along with a Cat Stevens song, and this is the only time in an actual either main set or encore that they did it. So I think it's a nice little version. I think that sometimes when Ed plays songs that he's really not comfortable, familiar with, he definitely can have a tendency to get caught behind a little bit. I don't want to say fucked up. I'll say caught behind or caught up. And I think he performed this one well, and I think this was the crowd really dug it because it's New Jersey. Of course they did. So yeah, I know. But you know, I think I like Bruce. I'm not a huge Bruce fan. I like Bruce more than you do.
Well, you like Bruce. That's all you need to do. You could like Bruce a little bit, and it would be more than me.
Yeah, I don't understand how
no, I like
somebody doesn't.
I like Bruce Springsteen songs a lot. It's like Bob Dylan. Like I don't like the person that performs them, but he's a great songwriter. I can't say that. You know, of course, he's a great songwriter. Yeah, I thought this was, kind of fit the overall sleepy feel of the show. He said he plays it on his bed. Definitely could see that. But I thought it was kind of nice.
Yeah, it was kind of nice.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I hated this.
I need another critical for you.
This did not sound good, Randy. Come on, man. This did not sound good.
Need another condition critical for you. Play it.
What did you think?
Jesus.
This is not condition critical. You knew I wasn't going to like this.
I know. Of course not.
It's a mess. It's a mess. It wasn't good.
Of course not. No, I was fine with it. I thought it was a cool little moment. Look, he's never going to do the song again except for one more preset.
But if you never... I don't know.
Okay, I know what you're going to say. If he's never going to do it again, that means he sucks at it, and it means it doesn't work.
And if you've done a song maybe once before outside of your bedroom, maybe the place to do it is not in front of tens of thousands of people.
I don't know. He's ballsy. You know he's ballsy.
It's not that he's ballsy. I think most people just don't care. I listen to this. I listen to it, and I'm like, this doesn't sound good. I'm sorry. It's just, I guess, the musician in me.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess you can't remember to that time you were a child on your bed playing your bass and wishing that it was a more substantial instrument.
I think even back then I was like, this sucks.
I actually have a weird, vivid memory of you being like a 10 or 11-year-old, like your dad like teaching you how to play bass, and you were playing a Beatles song, and your dad taught you a really simple Beatles
simple
song.
Riff.
Yeah, and you were playing it. I'm like, that's not how you've played this fucking song. Like, I didn't know anything about bass,
but you knew probably
music.
Wasn't right.
Right. All you're doing is boom, boom.
It's like that.
Boom, boom.
That can't be it.
Boom, 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 boom.
And then you're like, it was Paul McCartney. That was probably it.
There were 9 days in that week.
Yeah.
All right. Evolution. You had some things?
Yeah. I was actually able to put Encore 1 and Encore 2 in just one paragraph each because I was just kind of so I don't want to say done, but I wasn't happy. So Do the Evolution should have been set 1. You should have skipped it here. You should go Growing Up. Then you should go Daughter, which comes after Do the Evolution. Then you should have done Better Man and then Alive. That's how it should have been. And Do the Evolution should have been put to first set because Eddie sounds awesome on Do the Evolution. I feel like it took him this long to finally get there. And this is a good spot for us. We like Do the Evolution here. But set 1 desperately needed this performance.
I think you're right. I think you're right on that.
You could get Better Man in the Encore 1 right before Alive, which I think would have been great.
Yeah, I don't know if in this encore they were like stressed for time because they knew that they had a lot more to do in the second encore, which is just weird to me.
It is weird, yeah.
But Better Man would not, if they were stressed for time, Better Man would have been one of the ones that, even if it was on the set, maybe it was on instead of Daughter and they switched it up. You know what I mean?
It could have been.
And they said, well, time constraints. We can't do. If we do Better Man, we probably can't do Fortunate Son. And we want to get the most out of the Sleater-Kinney appearance.
Yeah, that's entirely possible.
So
I'm just saying you could have swapped out Do the Evolution for Wishlist and then could have.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
You could have popped another big time song here in the encore one. So
right,
that's how I would have done it.
This is a fairly basic encore. I did like this daughter. Following Evolution.
Yeah, I like the daughter. I'm sorry, I just lumped that all together because, again, there was nothing really remarkable about it. But the Evolution was really good. Like I wanted to make that point. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to skip Alive or Daughter. They were both good.
I'm gonna kind of skip Alive, so that's.
Well, no, I just wanted to say it was good.
One of the things. Okay, so we've dealt with the androgynous mind tag on Daughter for like the last couple weeks.
Right.
I never listened to the actual song.
I have once.
So I went and I listened to it a couple days ago when I wrote down my notes, and I fucking hate that song. It's awful.
It's not the best.
So it leads me to wonder if I really hate Sonic Youth, because I don't know if I do or not.
I was going to say this about the Buzzcocks earlier. I honestly.
Buzzcocks have some really catchy stuff.
I don't know enough about either of those bands.
Listening to the Androgynous Mind song just did not give me hope for whenever they do a tag. And besides the hey it's okay, hey it's okay, like that, I thought that they at first when they were doing that in other shows that they were doing an it's okay tag. No, Sonic Youth is epitomizes garage rock and it's strange sounding stuff, but I listened to another song after Androgynous Mind called Massage the History, and it was much better.
Okay.
But it was not. I'm either gonna listen to them and I'm gonna be like, okay, I kind of like this, or I'm gonna be like, all right, this is just not my jam. Alive ends the first encore anything.
No, it was fine.
Okay.
Just what you expect.
Yeah, there's way more to talk about in Encore 2, so I really have no notes on that. So.
Yep.
All right, Ed introduces the start of the second encore by saying there have been times they've wanted to play this next song but haven't been able to, but with the help of Corin Tucker from Sleater-Kinney, we'll try and do something special for you. And it is the Temple of the Dog special Hunger Strike. The last time they played it before this show was in Perth, Australia in 98, and as far as I can tell, they didn't have any company with it. But before that, really, besides teases and tags, the last time it was played was with Cornell in Lollapalooza 92. So
that's an interesting little stat there.
Yeah, that took a little digging, but 204 shows since the Perth, Australia one in 98. So it's been a while since they dusted it off. Let's listen to it, because I'm sure you're going to have some things to say about it. But yeah, that's the first time.
Not much.
Okay, all right. Well, it's the first time we're covering Hunger Strike, so
yeah, you got to play it.
Of course.
You know the show, Randy.
There are rules. There are rules, and we abide. The dude abides, my friend. Okay, let's go hungry.
I don't mind stealing bread on the miles of decadence, but I can't feed on the powerless when my cup's already overfilled. But it's on the table, the fire's cooking, and the farming babies and the slaves are working. Blood is on the table, the mouths are choking. is on the table, the fire's cooking, and the farming babies and the slaves are working. What is on the table, the mouths are joking. But I'm going hungry. I'm going hungry. I'm going hungry. I'm going hungry.
What did you think of Corin Tucker's part? She's singing Eddie's part while Eddie's singing Chris's.
I'm going to say it. I do not like this song. Never have. Never will. And I just kind of want to leave it at that.
I mean, I'm really glad nobody knows where you live, so you don't get like, you know, the flaming pitchfork treatment, because I'm sure there would be people for this one.
Sure.
That I can understand why somebody doesn't like Hunger Strike. I can't understand why somebody doesn't like other songs that you don't like, but I guess
Hunger Strike was never catchy to me.
I've gone through phases where Hunger Strike has been an eye roll for me.
Yeah.
That I just haven't wanted to hear. Overall, I like it. And you know, when I first heard it, I liked it a lot. But I think the music video is one of the biggest pieces of shit I've ever seen in my life. I love the first comment on the music video, if you look on YouTube, is, Eddie, get out of the fucking bushes. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I do not care for the song at all.
You know, Corin Tucker, I think her style is either hit or miss for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. I think she's a little off. I think her style in general is just a little off key, and it sometimes takes me out of it. It depends on what it is. I think for their own stuff, it's fine, but for other stuff,
exactly. If it works for your own style, it's, you know, there are people like Ben Harper who comes on and you know, sings the encore for Pearl Jam, and it translates so well, and it's like,
yeah,
it's better than Pearl Jam sometimes. But yeah, sometimes you can't take someone out of their own element because it doesn't work as well.
Yeah, I guess I agree. I agree with that. You know, but I'll get to a point in a second that has been brought up the last time that we had Sleater-Kinney discussed on a show doing multiple songs, and this song we were very critical of, and I'm still pretty critical of this version. So the rest of the band comes out, and they go on to play your favorite Who song, Leaving Here. And this is not as bad as the Ottawa version, but it still sucks. It still sucks.
It is like someone shoving nails in your ears. I can't stand it.
It's just bubblegummy. The whole chorus, the take a train, fry my brain.
It sounds like there's a bunch of 8-year-olds on stage.
That's 100%.
It's terrible.
100%. But, however, I think the point that we made last time, we did the same exact thing, and then we got an email from, I'm going to give him a new nickname now, Baba Farrar, our spiritual guide.
That's perfect.
Baba Farrar, who is the spiritual guide of Five on Four Legs. I like that as a better distinction for him than executive producer.
That's so corporate. I think spiritual guide is so much better.
He's like, have you ever seen what's that show? Silicon Valley?
No, I've never seen that.
Oh, okay. The guy that runs like the Google of that show has like a spiritual advisor.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. So he says, he told me after hearing that show, he said, you know, lighten up on the guest appearances sometimes, because those performances aren't necessarily supposed to be like top-notch performances.
It's supposed to be for the experience, and
yeah, they're just supposed to be fun. The bands are having fun on stage. It doesn't really. It's not. It shouldn't be broken down as much as it is, or as we do. But look, you're not ever going to see them really do these songs together, besides the couple times that they did them. So, yes, the experience is more important than the song sounding good, yet this is a whole encompassing podcast here.
Could not disagree more. It's like with growing up, like, oh, you know, you don't have to pick it apart so much. He doesn't do it a lot. It's for the experience. These people come out and sing with them. It's the experience. It's, you know, Eddie was, you know, with old versions of Corduroy, and then he's angry. It's the experience of the time. No, that is complete bullshit. There's no excuse for songs not to be played well. That's it. I mean, that's the end of it for me. There is no excuse for a song not to be played well. I'm sorry.
But they had fun.
Fuck fun. It sucks. It sucks, Randy. It sucks.
So if you're having fun on stage at a wedding, and you guys are, I can see that. If you guys like miss a chorus or something like that, but you're having fun, the energy is there. Do you come out of that show saying, wow, we had a lot of energy, the crowd was really into it? Or do you say, wow, we really messed up on Bruno Mars?
Oh, no. Things like that will absolutely stick with us. You know, sometimes we even talk about Pearl Jam, where that maybe a song won't be as good and you won't hear it for a long time. We drop songs all the time. Sometimes it just doesn't sound good, you know? These things stick with you. I don't kid myself. If I say, hey, man, I really sucked tonight, I'm not going to go and say, I had such a great time. I'm going to be like, no, I'm sorry. I was off. I was off tonight.
Yes, it's one of those things. You just have to be in the shoes. Sometimes people's experience are different than what they hear it on the bootleg. If I were there, I probably would have enjoyed it. But listening to it on the bootleg, I would have been like, ooh, this is a little, ooh. Yeah, so, okay. Fortunate Son. Another one we haven't heard yet. It was a staple of 2003 set lists, and it's only been played 5 times since this night. And it's going to be played here because it's a Live on Four Legs debut. So here is the classic Creedence song. Let's get it in. What'd you hate on this one?
The band sounds great. I mean, you gotta love Fortunate Son. I don't care who you are, and if you don't, then I don't want to know who you are. Ruined by Sleater-Kinney. Just grating.
I think she was having a lot of fun out there.
I think she was having a lot of fun out there too, but she sounds like shit. This is my point. I mean, just screaming, It's like a cat in a blender. Oh, God. But the memory.
Yeah.
The experience.
Fade, but the memory remains. You know? That
old saying.
Written by James Hetfield, a lyrical genius. But I don't know. I thought she was into it. I thought she was fierce. Maybe she didn't hit her notes, and maybe it was like rushed a lot. But that's I don't care. I don't care that it might have not sounded good. I felt the energy and I felt like it was fun.
The pass I could give is that these aren't Pearl Jam songs.
Right, so they have, there is room to fuck up on them more and have a lot more fun with it. Well, I
don't go out to a wedding and say, "Oh, this is a Bruno Mars song. I didn't write this, so I'm just gonna fuck it up if I want to, as long as I'm having fun."
I would totally do that.
I'm gonna play it well.
Be like, fuck Bruno Mars. I'm not playing this shit.
Hey man, he's got some fun songs to play as a bass player.
Yeah.
As a bass player,
oh god,
funky.
Yeah, I'm sure. Smoother than a fresh jar, Skippy. That one.
Yeah,
That's on like every commercial now. Even though it's been on every commercial.
I was just going to say it's on every single commercial. But great bass part.
I mean, a song called "Uptown Funk" not having a good bass line would be the shit.
Blasphemous, I know.
Look, it fits the mold of you talked about just taking a random popular rock and roll cover and just going forward and killing it. You said that you wanted to hear kind of some different stuff with covers, and this is different. They don't go back to this a lot often, so I think it's fun. So she's not my favorite vocalist of all time. It's aight. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I was way less into Rockin' than I was into her part in Fortunate Son. Rockin' was fine. Rockin' was everybody.
It was vanilla.
Everybody's on stage, and it sounds like a big party on stage that really you're at home and you're like, well, I wish I was at the party, but I can't really party with you here, so I don't really know what to do. Sometimes you can join the party in these bootlegs.
Yeah.
Sometimes they invite you, but this one was just kind of a party that you watch on TV that you're like, oh, well, I'll get my invitation next time.
I thought for everyone being on stage during this part for Rockin', like I said, I thought it's vanilla. It was surprisingly bland, I thought, for this moment where everyone's there. I think with just Pearl Jam being on stage, we've heard way more energetic Rockins before.
Yeah. I think it was the least inspiring of these four covers here.
Yeah, I can agree to that for sure.
I didn't see anything detrimental to it that ruined the song for me.
No.
There usually isn't.
No,
so.
This is what it is, basically, Rockin'. But we've heard better. We've heard better.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Well, technically it's Encore 3 because they apparently left the stage and came on for just one more song. So Ed kind of goes through the band roster and says, we like the place, and this is good night to you and goodbye to the U.S., and it's hello to Yellow Ledbetter. It's Ledbetter, and he's changing up some lyrics here and there, but it feels like a feel-good moment because it is the last song of this tour, so it feels like they are saying goodbye, but aside from that, it's pretty average.
I had no problem with this Yellow Ledbetter. I thought it was pretty good.
All right, I'm afraid to do this, but I think it's time that we go on and rate our show here. I don't know what you're gonna rate it, and I don't think it's gonna be that good. So just get it.
I'm gonna be generous.
Okay.
My rating is coming strictly from creativity. I think this was a very cool thing to do, a very interesting thing to do. It's something you'll never see again, or if you do, it'll be completely different. Maybe they'll do the albums, but they'll go in reverse or something like that, which would be pretty cool. At the end of the show, man, I just don't think they sounded that good. I don't think Eddie sounded good. I thought the band was really up and down. They had some really high points and they had some really low points. So, I'm going 5.5, and that's on creativity alone.
All right.
I did not like this one at all.
Yeah, I give this one a lot of creativity points too, and I think I enjoyed it a lot more than you did. I give things like Sleater-Kinney appearance a little bit of a break, but
at the same time, that's not new. That's really not new.
No, but to some people it can be, and every experience is different. I would like to give this a 7 because the idea is there, and I don't think that this was performed egregiously. I don't think the show was a complete mess. I think there were songs that were a lot softer and drifted a little more than others. I think that some of the choices from the albums could have been a little better, but mostly I was okay with the better a better half of them. And I liked hearing Fortunate Son. I liked hearing Hunger Strike, songs that we haven't covered on this before. So I enjoyed that aspect. I think it deserves a 7.
Did you? I wanted to ask. Did you have a? Because I had a lot of trouble with the show. Did you have a standout?
You know what? Not really. No. Even flow or Porch were probably Porch was probably the best thing from this night. But if we were to go back in episode 50, 25 episodes from now, we'll still be here, and do like a rewind on some of our favorite episodes and maybe some of the songs that really define those episodes. I think this episode probably doesn't make that cut. There wasn't a defining song. It was a defining set, but not a song.
I thought Half Full stood out to me in a very good way.
Half Full was really good, yeah.
You know what? That's it was sneaky. I was not expecting that, and that's why I wanted to ask you, because I kind of just wanted to tell you that Half Full really,
Maybe go back and play it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a way to do it, but maybe.
Yeah, I could try to find a spot to slip it in there. Or maybe I'll just slip it in right here.
A post-show song? What? Whoa! Oh my goodness! What have we turned ourselves into? We got some stories. Mm-hmm. I'll pick a couple out. From the boards, from PJ Hawks. Got 7th row center after trading out MSG tickets through the 10 Club. Best seats I've ever had for Pearl Jam. Never realized that the 2 from each album happened until the next day, but it was a great show overall. Really enjoyed the choices from each album. First time I'd seen I Got, he says id. It's shit.
I always change my mind.
I always say shit.
I say id, ID, shit, or I just say I got. Sometimes I say nothing at all.
I always say shit because it's just funny.
If I'm talking to my mom about it,
Well, your mom is...
She's cool. She's cool.
Yeah, she's better than... yeah, so I got id, and it was fantastic. Thoughts Ed Comments in the encore were great, even though he messed it up. Loved Ed doing Bruce's Growing Up. After that, thought Sleater-Kinney kind of ruined the encores.
My man.
To me, the encores, especially Hunger Strike, is unlistenable with them on it, and maybe that's just me, but overall it was a fantastic show.
It's not just you.
Apparently.
I like this guy. He's going to be our next guest.
Posso Mist says, 5 of my friends and I were in front row and center for this one. After opening with Wash, Ed handed my friend the Wash lyrics that he wrote on a game board box.
There you go.
I told you that was coming. My friend framed it, and it looks great. It was a great show, and Ed held our hands during Porch. It was cool because we grabbed this ticket because of the overselling of MSG, and it worked out great for us.
Awesome.
And we'll have one more from The Long Road. I remember it was a Monday and the weather was pretty great. It was my 4th show of the year. I had lawn tickets with 10 or so of my friends. Wash into Once was awesome. Don't think the order of the set list hit me until they finished the first set. To be honest, the song choices from each album were a little repetitive from MSG Night 2. See,
okay.
That's... Go, Dissident, Corduroy, Nothing Man, Present Tense, Evacuation. I love the Growing Up cover, and I still listen to it a lot. The second encore with Sleater-Kinney was cool in person, but I never listened to it again. And yes, All Those Yesterdays was soundchecked, but not played. So,
man, dude, you and 10 friends on the lawn sounds like the most fun you could have.
That is awesome. And even if you don't have 10 friends on the lawn, you can easily make 10 friends on the lawn.
Well, Randy, that's the best part, because you go with 10 friends on the lawn and then you leave with 20 friends on the lawn.
Ooh, but usually the lawn shows, Pearl Jam doesn't do lawn shows, so to speak, now. But like the last time I went to a lawn show was live in Counting Crows. I didn't make any friends at that show.
I believe you.
I made enemies in Adam Duritz, who I'll never see live again. I went into that show kind of optimistic, like, okay, they're a good 90s band, like they're okay. Oh man, he's awful live.
Yep.
He just
that seems to be the general
cries.
consensus. Yeah.
He cries the whole time, and he's just a sad, sad human being with his hands in his pocket.
And his hair.
Well, he looks like he's cosplaying himself. Yeah.
That is so funny.
He's like 40 pounds heavier. I know he's been through a lot of shit. Like the guy, if you read up on his story, he's got some problems, but and I won't criticize him for that. But man, if you're not into it live, then just call it quits. Just call it quits. Just call it a day.
The Beatles did. They never played live.
No.
For the latter half of their career.
Right. So, Counting Crows aren't the Beatles, but they aren't getting paid paychecks. They aren't getting residual checks like the Beatles are either.
Really bad comparison.
Yeah. Probably the worst.
Yeah. Of my entire life.
Okay, time for public service announcement, then we'll close it out. Live on Four Legs is happy to present a weekly podcast dedicated to the Pearl Jam live experience. While we try to get ourselves to as many shows as possible, we have only attended a small fraction compared to the entire live history. That's why we need your help. We want to get to know who you are. If there's a live show that you've attended that you'd like to see us cover in our program, please send us an email at liveonfourlegs, that's the number 4, liveonfourlegspodcast@gmail.com. We want to know your entire live experience. Did you once miss a flight? Get lucky in the 10 Club lottery? Catch a white whale? Your stories will help us mold this into the best podcast it could possibly be. You're already getting to know who we are. Now it's time for us to know who you are. So, as mentioned right there, you can email us. Let us know what show you would like to hear us do in the foreseeable future. We have a lot on our list, but we can always make adjustments if you can convince us of something good, and we're always open to new suggestions.
Yeah.
So,
Randy, I was going to say, after we recorded our Patreon episode, we mentioned what was going to be coming up
Yeah.
And I'm excited for you to get to that again because we have a lot of really good stuff coming up.
We do, and I'm just going to say it. If you want to find out what the next 4 shows or so are going to be, sign up to Patreon and check out our VH1 Storyteller episode. I hate to be a dick, but sometimes you got to keep things exclusive.
Wow.
Yeah.
You even just threw me for a loop there.
Well, the people that sign up to our Patreon are very, very generous, and although I love all of our fans, I want to give as much extra to those people as possible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we give extra as much as we can, but for this, I think a good tease. If we just keep teasing the next episode at the end of each show, and keep you guessing for the future.
I think a really good tease is that you guys could expect some other Pearl Jam podcast celebrities to pop up on some episodes sooner rather than later.
As soon as next week?
As soon as next week.
As soon as next week. How about we start with the OG one? We start with one of the Brads, the Blazek Brad.
That's as OG as you could get, besides the other Brad who was just as OG. So yeah,
I would assume that they're probably the equal amount of OG.
Equal OG.
They started the same episode. They started at the same time. So yeah, Brad B is gonna come on. We're gonna do an episode of, I think this was his first show. I'm not positive.
I love having people talk about their first shows.
Oh yeah, and I mean he's gonna, you guys all tune into his show. You know how passionate and how excited he gets about stuff.
There's going to be good talking points for sure.
Yeah, so Milwaukee, 1995. I believe it's a night 2 show. And
even night 2 shows are even better.
Yeah. Do you know what the show is known for or famous for?
No, because I like to try to go in as fresh as possible to where I don't even look at a set list before I listen to the bootleg.
All right, then then
so
I'm
don't
not
tell
even
me.
gonna mention
Don't
it.
tell me.
Yeah, because you'll be totally thrown through a loop.
What year was it? Did you just
95?
95. Okay.
Yeah. So, something rather unique happened that night.
Okay.
And it's going to be a very, very central point of our show. So that should be very exciting.
Oh boy.
Yeah. All I have left is again, if you're going to Innings Fest this weekend, shoot us a note, let us know what you thought, and we can talk about it on next week's episode. I'll try to stream it in as well and see what Eddie's got going on for us. Hopefully he changes it up a little bit, because he usually plays a lot of the same Pearl Jam stuff and a lot of the same covers. So hopefully we get a little bit of different stuff, but shall see.
Shall see.
Shall see.
Shall.
Shall see. If you're following us on social media, if you're not following us on social media, we got a lot of stuff going on. We're going to start something fun for every Mondays on our Facebook account, maybe translated to our Insta and Twitter accounts too, probably, hopefully. We're going to start doing something fun. We're going to do Live on Four Legs Power Rankings, and that'll start this Monday. What it is, it's just going to kind of be a compilation of 10 songs that Matt and I have decided are deemed worthy of us continuing to listen to. It's either ones that we're really high on right now that we've heard in the last couple shows that we're like really excited about, or ones that we know are coming up in the next couple shows that we're really excited about. So it's kind of, it works as a preview and as a flashback as well. So that'll be fun, a fun little experiment that we have every Monday, doing some power rankings, and you guys can chime in on what you're hot on as well, and maybe that can influence our lists as we go forward.
I think so.
Yeah, and if you subscribe to us on iTunes, just remember to hit the subscribe button to wherever you're listening to us on, and then give us a good old rating and comment on there. I know a lot of you guys have been pretty proactive about it, and it's gotten our boost up, and we really appreciate you guys doing that. So yeah, and just keep up with us on social media too. That was Holmdel 03. Next week is Milwaukee 95. And this has been Randy and Matt and Live on Four Legs, and a podcast that you will listen to every day forever because we have 3 hours of content that you have to get through. And it's all really awesome stuff. And you like our voices a lot.
Even though one of us hates everything.
Yeah, that one of us is not me, for once. How amazing is that? So, this may be the end. We're here, but not for much longer, and although we may be parting ways, I miss you already, and I miss you always. Once again, for Matt and Randy, for Live on Four Legs, for Holmdel, for Pearl Jam, for whoever decides to tune in for Patreon and the Patreon episode that's about to come out very soon. We bid you all good day.
Bye.
I wish I was the souvenir you made out of piece of shit.
Save money on groceries when you use your shopper card.
Shopper card good only on items we choose and advertise like mad to make it look like we're giving stuff away, when in fact we're raking in cash hand over fist because the couple dollars you save on sale items we take back with inflated prices on everything else in the store. So when you think you're saving money, you're really spending way more money than you would at Big. So you can buy every item in the store at true minimum price, which means that your total grocery bill is less. Shopper card valid only on ridiculous items scavenged from bankrupt manufacturers and sold to us by disreputable brokers and places with unpronounceable names.